Hi, everybody. Well, thanks for that intro. Hi, JsPoland, NgPoland. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And today we're going to talk about choosing your right service worker strategy. And let's start because we don't have much time, but stay with me during the next 20 minutes. What we will see is what is a progressive web app? What do I need to build a PWA? What is a service worker? What is the cycle of a service worker? And basically any other facts that will help you to choose the way that you're going to build your service worker in your web app. So let's start. You can see my Twitter account anyway, if you want to contact me in all my slides. So let's start. Let's go. We don't have much time, so let's start. What is a progressive web app? If you hear any other of my previous talks before, you saw me talking about what is it and what do I need as a developer to build my PWA. I like to define a PWA like this: is a way to bring a native app-like experience into the browser using web technologies. That means you're going to use CSS, HTML, and of course, JavaScript, one heart. Besides that, what do I need to build my PWA? That's the other thing that you will hear me talking about often. You will need HTTPS, a manifest file, and a service worker. That's what we're going to talk today. What is it? So the service worker, it will give you the chance to have offline capabilities. Okay, that's why you want to create a progressive web app that works with offline capabilities. You are trying to enhance the user experience. And besides that, something that you have to know, even before working with a service worker, offline capabilities, use HTTPS. Because if you're not using HTTPS, you're not going to be able to add any service workers. We're not going to talk about HTTPS or manifest files. I'm going to give you some resources later in my talk about how to use those ones. But today, the start of the afternoon is service workers and my friend Pikachu. Who doesn't love Pikachu, right? So what is a service worker? A service worker is a script and it's written in JavaScript that will allow you to intercept and control the network requests. Okay? And then you can set and use a nice caching strategy from the web browser. Okay, basically, you're going to add offline capability and you can use caching as well. But once that you install a service worker, once that you build a service worker, it has like a life cycle that you have to know that is really important in order to understand what we're going to talk later. So let me talk to you about the service worker poke evolution. This is a life cycle of a service worker. So why not explaining this with Pokemon? Yeah, this is my theme for today. First of all, the first generation, as you can see there, Charmander, is to register your service worker. That's how it works in the browser. The browser, what it will do is, hey, is there any service worker already installed? If yes, it's not going to register. If it doesn't, it's going to register your service worker. That's the very first step. The second step, the next evolution of your service worker that you will see here with Charmeleon, I have to tell you a secret. I have to put the names of this Pokemon because I don't remember the whole evolution of Charizard. So the second step is to install. If it's not registered yet, it will install your service worker in the browser. Okay? The third step And that's our main star of today. That's chart design. And the third step is to fetch. Fetch is the event that it will allow you to do the magic. Okay, so this is the event that you're gonna be able to control what's gonna happen with all those files that you already catch. What's gonna happen with those requests with the browser, right? So there is where we're gonna put our magic, and that's where we're gonna check which are the strategies that we need to use. Last but not least, this is like when your service worker is like already done and ready to go, super powerful, is activate. Activate, we're not gonna talk much about that today, but you need to know that activate is a way that the service worker can check if it needs to be updated, if there is new files around that needs to be caught, and so on. But again, as I mentioned before, our star of the night, our service worker, and the events fetch. But even before talking about fetch, what you need to know is you need to think around a good catching strategy. There are two different ways. The first one is the one that you will think in terms of the browser, all right? We're not going to talk about that today. And then the second one is the one that is related with the service worker. That basically what you can do is catch, for example, images or CSS or any other files that you think that is relevant to your app. So it can be available offline after the service worker is installed. So how does it work? Let's see. Here we have one example. And do you remember that the very first step is register and the second one is install? Well, this is an example about how you can install and your service worker, and then use that in order to catch files. Here you can see that I'm catching one CSS file, one image, and then there's a trick. There is even an HTML file that is called offline.html. So how does it work? After the install event, it will open the catch, and then what it will do is save those files that I mentioned previously into my array of files. Okay, so that's the very first step. Check which are the files you need to catch, and when the service worker is gonna install, tell to the service worker which are the files that you will need offline. Let's go back to fetch, okay? The event fetch also, the idea is to have a good cycle. And I'm going to show you which one. Every time that you need, and this is my wonderful handwriting, by the way, I hope you understand at home. So every time that the browser needs a file, it's going to send a request, right? And when they need a request, they need, let's say, an image or a file, it's going to check, okay, is this already in the cache? Is it catch? Let's check. If it's catch, what it will do is it's going to serve that image or that file from the cache. And then what if not? What if it's not in the cache where I already say, hey, save those images or files in the cache? Well, so it's gonna check in our network, right? So it's gonna ask in our network if those files are available. In the case that are available, they're gonna serve those files from the network. And in the case that is not, because for example, it can happen that you need a request from an endpoint and that backend is under maintenance or is not available. It happened to us. We have to always have a backup. That is called fallback. So that's the one that you need to know. And then you have every possible request from fetch cover. You're not going to be worried about what happened with connection or what happened with an external endpoint or what happened with any other issue that you can have with network or a request. Okay, so this is a cycle that you need to know in terms of fetch. I hope that was clear for you with my friend Bulbasaur. Had a bunch of friends, by the way. And then, so let's see what we need to know. We have different strategies in order to serve our content offline. But again, the very, very first one, and this is not even a strategy, this is something mandatory that I suggest to everybody that is going to build a PWA, because also it's a best practice. Create and use an offline fallback page. What is an offline fallback page? Well, in order to make the user happy and Pikachu happy, that's a pretty sad Pikachu, by the way. You can build an offline fallback page. And that's a page that you can show to the user in the case that there's no connection at all. You don't even have to worry or do a bunch of advanced strategies in terms of offline, but at least you need to show to the user that they are offline and they're not available to use your website with all its capabilities. So you can create an offline fallback page using HTML. You can use also other resources as long as they are cached before in your service worker. So let's say that you're going to build an offline page. And in the case that you want to put some styling, is something that I advise is to use that styling that you are catching in your service worker. Okay, but let's see how it works. Do you remember the first part that I show you? That's something that you will see a lot. When you create your offline.html page, you can save it as one of the files that you want to catch. And then here in the install events, that's where you're going to save it. And in the case that is not any other connection or anything like that, you can use these to the user. You can show to the user what's happening. But how am I going to show to the user this offline page if there's no connection? So there we go. We got the next page. So you're here because you want to see strategies. I know that. So please, let's see which are the different strategies that I need to know around the service worker. And we're going back to fetch. So the very first part is to be aware of headers. We can use in our fetch events headers, as you can see here. If you use request that headers that get accept, then we have includes. In that includes, we can check whatever we want. And for example, one of the things that we can check are, hey, check what's going on with this page or image or everything else. Oh, let's see, how does it work with pages? In terms of pages, what we have here is we need to check with text /HTML. Okay, and this is where actually we are going to call our offline.html. So right now, the one that we already built before, we can check return with catches, match, and then if there's an error, that's our key part, we're gonna show offline.html. All right, so here, as a good practice, is you have to use catch. You have to use catch because that's where you're gonna check, okay, there's no connection. I had an error, show this fallback page. So the same thing applies with images. If you're having problems with images, instead of using includes HTML, you're gonna use includes image. And then you can check, okay, in catch error, for example, I had a project where I depend on a certain image related with COVID. So let's say if I'm not able to retrieve that from network or caching, I can show a fallback. As you can see here, return a different image that already used in the caching. Okay, and then you can even check not only specific images, but use a fallback image for whatever other thing that you need. Besides that, what we have is, what if I don't want to check or website, HTML page, or any other image? We can also catch everything else. Every part of the code that I'm showing you here is part of our service worker. Remember that. We're going to have a service worker.js, and we can put this code over there. So everything that I mentioned before is all together. And the last part is, okay, check the strategy for everything else. What happens if I don't find anything that is not an image or a website? Okay, let's do this fetch. Okay, that's something important, and that's like the basic part that you need to know. Alrighty, so what we saw today, that basically PWAs is a way to bring native app-like experience in the browser. We need HTTPS, a manifest file, and the service worker. We already know what our service worker, fetch, and we know that we can use headers to create proper strategies around pages, images, and everything else during our event fetch. Some of the resources that I can share are, please follow us in our blog Medium in Samsung Internet. There's a book that I truly recommend if you're interested into service worker or offline capabilities. It's Going Offline by Jeremy Keith. Check MDN documentation. You can check my slides in that URL. And you can contact me. I do a bunch of stuff for the web at Samsung Internet. I'm based in London. So if you're around any of these topics, please contact me. And first of all, I love JS since remote times, even before Pikachu was a 3D thing. And besides that, I hope to see you next time in person. That actually was a picture in Poland. And if you are in the picture, please say hi. Hope that you are already there. So thank you so much. I think my camera turned off, but that's fine. So please connect with me. You can follow me in social media, in our Samsung Internet accounts. That's the browser that we use at Samsung. It's open source. I'm interested to see what you're building, which are your PWAs projects, and everything else. So please connect with me. And if you have any feedback or questions, everything is more than welcome. So yeah, thanks, JsPoland. I hope to see you next time in person.